broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching NowMedia Television.
Hello and welcome to the NowMedia Television, the first bilingual television in the United States, and to our show, Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac. It is our great pleasure to have you with us again, and today we will be discussing topics regarding business mediation and tips into that, as well as mediation training, together with some more insights into Mexican law. I am Natalia Łowska-Czajka, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator from Warsaw, Poland, now in Houston, Texas.
And hi, I'm Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator. I work throughout Florida and Texas. And so in our first segment, we're going to be talking again with Dr. Barbara Manuso. She's a mediator of 30 years and a mediator trainer of 29 years. And so, Dr. Manuso, are you present?
Yes, thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Yes, awesome. Good to have you back. And so in this episode, we wanted to go a little bit deeper into some mediation tips for business people. And so we all know that people in business sometimes have conflicts and they have issues that they need to get resolved. But we wanted to just educate them with this information that you're providing for us today. What are some mediation tips? Could you give us one to start off with for business people?
Well, mediation, of course, is the process where the parties have the opportunity to have a conversation that they haven't had before in a safe space with the guidance of the mediator. And they are the ones that come to their solution. They are the architects of their resolution. And so it's very important that business people come prepared. And very often in the business environment, a business owner might send their manager or somebody else to represent them in the mediation. And I like to caution people not to do that. If your business is in a mediation, you should be present and you should be the one that negotiates on behalf of your business. A person who is just a manager might not be there tomorrow. They don't have the same invested interest in finding solutions or building upon the experience where they can move forward into a better business environment down the road. So that's number one for me. If your company is has been required or you have requested to go into mediation, the person who is the top person in that company should be at the mediation table.
And having listened to this first tip, I wanted to go further. Business people are usually engaged in a dispute, sometimes involving a lot of money, already have lawyers with them. What's your tip for that? Should the parties, the business owners, attend mediation with their lawyers or without them?
That's a very good question. A lot of times, a lot of people in business have it in their business contract agreement between themselves that they will go to mediation if they have a conflict. And so they very comfortably come pro se, which means without attorneys. If they have filed a lawsuit with a court, 99.9% of the time, the court is going to send them to mediation. They're going to go through mediation before they stand in front of the bench. And so in that case, most attorneys will accompany their clients. Now, there are occasions where an attorney might say, well, because you've got to pay your attorney for the time they're spending in the mediation as well as you're paying for the mediator. So some attorney might say, if you run into a rough spot and you want to speak to me, I'm as close as the telephone, which is fine. I would say in most business mediations, the parties come with counsel. They come with their own attorneys. And most of the time, there's money involved. Something timely is involved that needs to be resolved, or it could be the issue that they have a future relationship. It might be a limited market that they're working together, so they want to make sure that they have that opportunity to work in the future together. And the lawyer's job is to keep their parties informed of the legal aspects of the case, to make sure they're meeting the proper legal benchmarks that need to be met. And it also is a sounding board for the parties. When I mediate in business cases and in all cases, the parties should be together. They should have a chance to hear each other and to be heard, because that's the strongest part of mediation, is that people have not been heard. So this is the safe place to do it. Not that they don't go into caucus and have a separate meeting. And this is the opportunity they might talk over with their attorney what they just heard or realized through the course of the conversation together. And then they can come back together and make a proposal. So that to me is very important in a business relationship.
Thank you. And do all these tips that you're giving today also apply for arbitration more broadly, would you say?
Arbitration is a different process, totally different process. And arbitration is when the parties are determined to speak on one issue, maybe two. It doesn't have the fluidity that a mediation has. Everybody's sworn in. There might be witnesses. It's kind of like a mini trial, but it doesn't follow the normal rules of engagement that you have in a courtroom. So there's some flexibility, and there's a little feeling through the arbitration process where the parties have a chance to speak with each other more informally. So it's a different process. So the question that you asked me about are points for the business mediation. So that's why I'm advising that people be very clear that their mediators give them that opportunity to hear and be heard, with or without attorneys. And that is very much the way the ethical standards and guidelines, whether it is Texas, national through the arbitration, the arbitration bar, or internationally, the same process holds for business programs and mediations.
And when you have a businessman, a businesswoman who is heading for mediation, usually having some experience from the court and being in this very strong attitude, I want to win, I need to show them, what would you say to them mediation can do for them so that they don't feel this need of vindicating themselves?
Well, this again is why, if a mediator only puts people in separate rooms and runs between the rooms, that's negotiated settlement. And the parties build anger. I had a person call me a little while ago. She sat for 7 hours in a room with her attorney, paying her attorney. And at the end of the 7 hours, it was dinner time, the mediator came in and said, "Oh, here's a good agreement, I think you should sign it." And so she felt obligated to sign it, although it wasn't comfortable for her. That was not mediation. And that is an affront to people who think that they have paid or have engaged in mediation. So with that being said, and when people feel vindictive, they get angrier and they dig in deeper when they feel they haven't been heard. That's why it's so important, especially in business, even in family cases in mediation, that the parties are heard and they are able to hear what the other side has to say. And they are given the opportunity to talk to each other with no timeline on it, no constraints. Sometimes people need to have a couple hours to vent out their anger. That's fine. And then they can get their mind straight where they can go forward to their solutions. And that is absolutely critical in business opportunities.
Awesome. And so thank you so much for all these tips. And with a minute left, let people know how they can get in touch with you. And also tell us about your podcast as well, because I know you do these regular talks where you're always talking and inviting great guests to discuss these topics you're passionate about.
Yes, and I think it's very important for anybody that's in business or personal lives that encounter a business problem to sometimes know how to negotiate and to think about conflict. And so with our podcast, I'm delighted that in our podcast we have the Titans of Mediation, and they are the theorists who have written the books, who are very much engaged from around the world that are interviewed on the podcast. And you can find that on the front page of our homepage of our website, menuso.us. And also to contact me if you'd like for any types of mediation. And I'm always happy to offer even just a quick consultation on the phone to give people some ideas on how they should be thinking about going through the process and what to expect.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manuso. And I want to welcome everybody to a short break, after which we will continue with Dr. Manuso, this time on training in mediation training. Thank you so much.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high-quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
Bienvenidos a Interior Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interior, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interior, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana, Interio, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fish. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Tell me, are you looking to sell a house or buy a home? Hi, I'm Michelle Briggs, and your real estate needs are my priority. With over 2 decades worth of experience within the real estate industry, I know I can help. Whether you're selling a house and moving on to the next chapter or buying a home to create generational wealth for your family, I am the realtor for you. Call me now at 713-256-5465 and let me handle all of your real estate needs.
Welcome back after the break. It's great to be again with Mac and with Dr. Barbara Manuso, who will be talking with us today about mediation or arbitration as a career path. And Dr. Manuso, I know you are an experienced mediation and arbitration trainer. You've been training in mediation for 29 years. And your trainings are ongoing, and I wanted to absolutely praise you because both me and Mac, we have been taking your trainings. What I absolutely love about them is that once you take one of them, you can always come back and renew your skills, see different people. Tell us what you see in the mediation training, or why it is a good path of a career for anybody not being a lawyer, wanting to pursue their way of life into the peacemaking process.
Well, thank you for inviting me. The mediation training is excellent for anybody. You don't have to think of it as a standalone career, although many people do. And I was glad you just mentioned that you do not need to be an attorney to be a mediator or an arbitrator. And mediator and arbitrator are under the umbrella of alternative dispute resolution and ADR. And ADR, it used to be considered the alternative, and now the A often stands for affordable dispute resolution. So I think that has a lot more wisdom and a lot more ring to it. So being a mediator and an arbitrator is given every state might have their own minimum requirements, and around the world, every country might have their own minimum standards. And the standard that we use for our mediation and arbitration training is the gold standard any place in the world. And our students do come from around the world. So I think that's significant to know that you can be an attorney or not an attorney. I'm not an attorney, and I've done this for 30 years. So it's like in any job, you've just got to be dedicated to it and not say, well, I've got an opening a week from Thursday, maybe I'll do something. It doesn't work. You either in or out. But you can also your mediation and arbitration training with any career that you have as a complement to your skill set.
Okay, so for example, you could be a lawyer or a non-lawyer. You could be in pastoral work, or you could be say a counselor, right? Like what makes a potential good mediator? What have you seen are different backgrounds people come from who do the trainings?
Well, we get every background you could imagine. Human resources is strong. Licensed professional counselors, LPC, are strong. Social workers are strong. Realtors are strong. It doesn't matter what the background is. I think it comes with, are you in it for money or are you in it for the opportunity to help people? When people come in, and the first question they ask is, how much can I make? Well, I don't think you're going to be a good mediator or an arbitrator. It's more of a personal mission of helping people resolve conflicts. And I think that's number one. That's who should come into a program for mediation or arbitration.
And Dr. Manuso, when we're talking about your mediation trainings, I know that they are actually structured. I know there is a very basic mediation training of 40 hours, and I also understand it's like the bare minimum. But there are also other types of mediation trainings. You can have family mediation training, you can have elderly care mediation training. Tell us something more about it. Why are there those different types, and what they are actually designed for? What do they give a student?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. The basic for Texas, and again, I'm going to talk about Texas because this is coming live from Texas, is 40 hours of basic training. And there's a set curriculum that's been set by the nuance of the industry. And it is the gold standard around the world, actually, the 40 hours. So you can mediate any civil cases with a 40-hour of training. In Texas, the minimum for family training is 24 hours if you are an attorney. If you are not an attorney, we have our training, even if you are an attorney, 30 hours, because we also incorporate the 4 hours of domestic violence training, which is required by the Texas statute, and we don't have 4 hours outside of the training. We incorporate it into the family training of 30 hours. And so they have the complete package that is needed, and also Texas-specific understanding of the courts is incorporated in our training. And I think that sets us apart. And one other thing that sets our training apart is we have 9 lecturers in our basic training, and we have 11 lecturers in our family training. So we have the top people from around the world that bring in the best of information as practitioners as well as theorists to educate our students. So it's not one talking head, and we're pretty rigid about it to make sure that people are attentive, they actually come to the classes, and that they learn the skill sets that they need to be a quality mediator or arbitrator. And arbitration is 10 hours of training, that they learn what the nuances are that distinguish it from mediation. And in our arbitration training, we also have people write an opinion so that they have the practice and they get the feedback on what their opinion looks like and how well they think it through. And also we offer elder and adult care mediation, which is a very big market, which is another 20 hours of family training on top of the 40 hours, 30 hours, and then 20. And then also we have parenting coordination facilitation, which is high conflict mediation for couples that are going through divorce or child custody. And that's another 16 hours of training. So we make sure that people have all of the baseline, and they can mediate and arbitrate any place in the world, because there's no borders, there's no lines for being a practitioner any place in the world.
So all of these hours that a person might want to do to get trained, Once they've gotten their certificate from you that says, okay, you are now credentialed to do these mediations, do they have to continue doing any more? Because in the state of Florida, where myself and Natalia are also credentialed to do mediations, we have to do ongoing hours. Every 2 years, we have to report them if we want to continue being able to be quote unquote certified by the Supreme Court of Florida to do mediations. What about in Texas and other locations? Do you have to continue doing CMEs?
In Texas, we don't have the same system that they have in Florida. Our training would be good, but they also, if you're going to do anything with the courts, which is bringing it more toward the orientation of an attorney, they require you to take a special court training. So that's a little different. But for Texas, there is no continuing education requirement. However, you really don't have much presentation or bearing or presence in the industry if you are not a member of the professional organizations. And this should go without saying to anybody that you're not going to be a professional in any area if you are not connected to a professional group.
And this is our next question to you, Dr. Manuso, because of course there are a lot of groupings that group mediators, but I understand in Texas it is not compulsory to belong to them, but it gives many benefits. And I know that you yourself are very active in many of them. Can you please tell us what are the Texan associations that you would recommend to join if you want to continue building up on your skills, if you want to learn other good mediators, if you want to stay in touch with what's new in mediation and be a better mediator simply?
Well, to mention one thing, to be able to get insurance as a mediator or an arbitrator, which is important in any business, with people who are litigious, they're going to go after their mediator and arbitrator if they feel they have an opening, that you need to have an association with different groups. And in Texas, we're looking at the Texas Association of Mediators. And I'm proud to say the last 5 or 6 presidents of TAM have been our lecturers and our students. So, but that's a wonderful group. It meets once a year, and they have 2 wonderful days of all kinds of lectures and workshops so that you're continuing your information, you're learning new skills, and you're associating with people that are in the field and that are working hard. And there's also the Association for Conflict Resolution. There's an international chapter, and again, one of our students has been serving on the international board, Victoria McLean. I'm very proud of her. And we also have a Houston chapter. Excellent. Whenever there's a panel or there's an opportunity that some group or panel is looking for mediators, we send out a notice to our members. And we also have lectures during the year to keep people informed and to keep them upgrading their skills. And to be a member of the Texas Association of Mediators, you are expected every year to do about 15 hours of training, continuing education training. ACR doesn't require that, but it is still an opportunity for people to connect and to be part of the professional community. And there's also the Texas Credentialing Association, and there's 4 levels of that group. And back in the day, it was expected that no judge would use a person unless they were a credentialed mediator. But that never seems to have held. But they meet once a year. It's more lawyer heavy, and there are 4 levels. I'm a distinguished Texas credentialed mediator because of the number of hours of mediation that I've done. I've done thousands, literally, and also of the arbitration. And so that kicks you up a notch, and it makes you more viable and wanted on other panels because they know that you have the experience and you are vetted professionally, and the connections you make are outstanding. So
Awesome.
that's very, very, and there's many groups that are outstanding. There's many more than that, but in Texas, those are the strong ones I think that people want to be connected with.
Thank you, thank you. And so we're going to be wrapping it up there. Check Dr. Manuso out at manuso.us. That's her website. Best place to get a hold of her. All right, guys, we'll be back after the break.
Oye, Lily dice que AT&T le da a todos las mejores ofertas.
Minus the air quotes.
Las mejores ofertas.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Te lo dije, aquí las mejores ofertas son para todos con una variedad de planes.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
En AT&T les damos a todos nuestras mejores ofertas en cada smartphone.
Hey, are you a small business owner that's struggling to double or triple your revenue and profits? My name is Michael Rager. I'm your business guide with Teach Your Business to Fish. Our success operating system will help you double or triple your profits every 2 to 3 years while actually maintaining some semblance of a home life. Call us at 713-201-5559 and we'll help you become a real success.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
¿Estás cansado de la inseguridad, la situación económica y de ya sabes quién? ¿Te gustaría salir de México y emigrar a Estados Unidos? Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como inmigrante emprendedor en Estados Unidos. Sígueme en todas mis redes sociales para que juntos logremos ese gran sueño de emigrar y lograr conquistar el mercado americano.
Welcome after a short break. Natalia and Mac, we want to welcome again our friend and colleague Carlos Alvarado de Mexico. And Carlos, you're with us today because we wanted to show a part of your practice that is actually quite interesting to everybody, and I think to a lot of people in Texas as well, which will be about child support and alimony, like spousal maintenance in Mexico, both in terms of having it done there, but also in terms of enforcing it when you have already made order here from the state. So thank you, Carlos, for agreeing to be talking with us on that. Great to have you with us.
So, Carlos.
Thank you again for having me.
Yes, definitely. This issue of child support is a thing that touches millions of people. A lot of people do it themselves privately, but they don't have the court orders involved. They just are two parents who are separated and they exchange money, okay? But more commonly, we have it where it's actually written down on some kind of memorialized document called a court order. This is something, again, that touches millions of children and millions of people. In Texas, we do it through the Attorney General's office most of the time, and it's plentiful. But in Mexico, I'm curious, how does how are child support matters handled out there? Just the basics of it. If you could just kind of give us a little bit of a background.
Sure thing, no problem. So basically, CORE will consider two things. Number one is the possibility of the parents or the people who has the obligation to pay child support. That's the one thing. And the other thing is the necessities of the children or the people who is entitled to get child support or alimony.
Okay.
And when it comes to that, who investigates that? And I think that Mark was also heading to the fact that here in Texas there is something really interesting, which is the Attorney General Office. In Poland, where I practice, you don't have any support like that. It is a private claim you bring to the court. Is it like that in Mexico?
In Mexico, you have to submit along with your divorce case, or if you are not married, along with the whole petition before a family court, before a family judge. And then you have to tell judge what you need from judge to support you, to investigate the possibilities of the people who has the obligation to pay child support. We use like banks, like credit bureau, like in the States. We go to the public records. We go to the commercial public records. We also bring the facts of the lifestyle of the family or the people who is responsible to pay child support. So there's many factors that you can ask judge to prove that the other party has enough resource to pay child support. And again, in the other hand, it's what are those necessities from the children, you know, like the school, like the other activities out of the school, social activities, etc., etc.
So, Carlos, this issue of child support is one that is personal for me, not because I pay child support, but because I used to work for the Office of the Attorney General Child Support Division. And not only that, but I'm licensed as well in the state of Florida as an attorney, where I'm familiar with the Department of Revenue, the DOR, dealing with issues of child support. And so the basics, just to contrast, the basics here are you have a child, you pay child support according to about 20% of your monthly net resources, of your net income in Texas. And then in the state of Florida, the formula counts the other parent's income as well to factor it in to make it, and then consider daycare and then come out with a number. In Mexico, how is it calculated? Is it like a percentage of the obligor's net after-tax income, or how do you actually arrive at the number? Do you just guess at it? How do you figure it out?
Well, you talk to your client, you know, client give you some facts. How was living together? What do you think are the possibilities of the other party? And then go from there. There is not a percent. There is just a formula, and again, the formula is you have to tell judge, okay, my children's needs this, and this, and we used to live out of this, and this, and we know that this guy or this mother has this asset, has this income. Then you tell judge, let's say the parent who is going to be sued work for a company. So you say, judge, I need 50% or 60% of the salary so I can support my children and myself. Judge will analyze the petition and then will submit a letter to the company and saying the company, you have to retain this percent of the salary, the whole salary, and then deposit to this lady or to this man to support, the children or the other party as a lemon as well.
So this is just like an estimate that will be given as a judge, which is quite interesting because when you go to the court, you practically can't guess what you end up with when you are sued for the child support. However, I wanted to ask you how it works for spousal maintenance. So can a wife or a husband who didn't work in the marriage and devoted their time and energy to the household, to bringing the upbringing of the kids, to just running the errands all day long, can they count on some support in terms of finances when it comes to a divorce or any other breach of marital obligations?
Yes, indeed. Right away, when you submit the demand asking for child support to the children, you can ask for that support to yourself, either male or female. And then, besides that petition, you have the right to submit another petition called compensation. And this compensation goes against or toward the assets, the whole asset, company, actions on the company, houses, lands, cars, business, etc. So you have that right. And the law in Mexico say that you are entitled up to the 50% of those assets. So you have to prove that you have the right, or you can get up to 50% of that asset. That doesn't mean that the judge is going to give you 50%. You have to do the job, and you have to prove that you are entitled to up to that 50%.
So what about if it's interstate? What about if it's international, where the parents are together, they have a child, but then one of them goes somewhere else, and they no longer live around each other. Let's say, for example, the mother stays with a child in Mexico, the father moved to Texas, and the father needs to be paying child support. In the US, we have something called the Uniform Interstate Family Support Act, also known as a UIFSA, to help the states talk to each other and make sure that that obligor who went to some other location still is responsible to send the money back to the mother. And then we treat other countries like states. In Mexico, do you have something similar to where you're able to help bring back money from another country?
Yes, the answer is yes. And indeed, as far as you continue married, even if you are split or you are separate, Mexican law will protect that timing. Doesn't really matter if you are together or not. That's why it's very important. If you decide to split and you are sure that you are not gonna get back as a couple, my advice is you have to submit or file for a divorce right away. Because otherwise, you know, we have cases on the office. They are married for 28 years, but they split 10 years ago. Guess what? Judge say in the resolution, doesn't really matter. You know, you have the obligation for those 28 years, even if you prove me that you split 10 years ago. So yeah, and regarding this, when you submit a petition for the divorce and compensation and the child support, you gotta be ready and bring all the facts, like you have properties outside Mexico, and you are aware that those properties exist, you have to bring that to Mexican court. So Mexican judge can decide, can make a decision on those assets out of the Mexican territory.
And Carlos, a very important question. I think that a lot of people here, let us say they have a family dispute in Texas, they end up with an order ordering a parent to pay money to the child. But then this parent goes to Mexico and stays there. Are you also helping families with the enforcement of international or other states' orders for payment of alimony or child support? And if yes, what this procedure entails?
Yeah, basically you have an order in another country saying you have to pay child support. You can break that sentence or that resolution. You know, you have to comply with some legal requirements like the translations, either apostille or legalization of that resolution. So that can be enforced in Mexican territory. You can utilize some international treats, or you can use using the legal civil Mexican code, which allow us to enforce resolution from another countries in Mexico if the parties are living in Mexican territory as well.
All right, well, Carlos, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for this insightful information about child support issues in Mexico, and we'll be right back.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
As a home or business owner, it can be tough to find a painting company that you can rely on. Look no further. Hi, I'm Courtney Hughes, owner of 360 Painting West Houston, your go-to painting company for residential and commercial needs. 360 Painting's mission is simple. We want to provide you with the highest quality finish and the best painting experience possible. Our company's residential and commercial painting services are founded on 3 core values. First, quality. We ensure the use of premium paints, high quality finishes, and proven painting methods. Second, professionalism. We are committed to professional and responsive painting services. We coordinate and plan projects around your schedule and will treat your property with the utmost respect. And lastly, customer service. Your satisfaction is our #1 priority. So before laying a single brushstroke, we will make sure that we understand your vision for your home or office, and we'll do all that we can to paint that vision into reality. We strive to complete every project to your specifications, and we ensure professional, accountable, and reliable service from the first brushstroke to the last. So the next time that you need your home or business painted, give us a call for your free estimate at 713-829-1581.
En esta era digital, las tarjetas de presentación de negocio son cosa del pasado. De hecho, la mayoría de las personas que las reciben las pierden en cuestión de minutos. La videotarjeta de negocios de NowMedia es un video de su negocio especialmente creado por nuestros expertos con toda su información de contacto, los productos y servicios de su negocio, y puede ser enviado de manera rápida utilizando su teléfono móvil. Cientos de negocios ya están viendo la diferencia. Llámenos hoy al 832-384-9588.
Hello and welcome back. Carlos Alvarado is here with me and Mac, and we are going to talk now about something very important in the procedure, about the use of expert witnesses. Carlos, being a Mexican lawyer, is exposed in the American courts to be an expert witness. And this is an interesting experience. By the way, this is how me and Mac met. Indeed, I was invited to the Texan court to be an expert witness. And maybe, Mac, you can please introduce this, how it happened and what an expert witness can do, and then we'll interview Carlos.
Sure, and so everyone knows what a witness is. It's a person who goes to court and testifies about what they saw, heard. They could be a fact witness, they could be a character witness. There are different types of witnesses. And we want witnesses because they are supposed to help us get to the truth, okay? But the law has this other concept called an expert witness. And an expert witness is basically somebody who can come to court to testify about something specific, that expertise, so to speak, that will help other people, the fact finders, rely on their knowledge to help them get to the truth, as close as possible to the truth. And like Natalia was referring to, she was my expert witness on a case that I was handling, dealing with an international child relocation matter. And she came to court and she was testifying to the court about from her own personal knowledge about a specific area of the law. And so, Carlos, today we wanted to have you share with us a little bit more about expert witnesses in Mexico and how you yourself has been an expert witness and how expert witnesses can help or hurt a client's case. So tell us, what can you tell us about expert witnesses in general?
Thank you very much. Basically, I participate already in a few cases in the States, and they asked me to be a professional witness talking in two topics. One of the topics was family rules, family law in Mexico related with domestic violence. You know, like what are the laws that protect children? What are the laws to protect, in Mexico, obviously, what are the laws to protect women? You know, what are the laws to protect the family? That was one of the experience. It was the first experience, you know, like I was sitting there and both of the parties were asking me questions about my practice, my background, and my experience as a lawyer in Mexico in regard these topics. And it was very interesting, obviously. And something that I gotta say, you know, it's been a fantastic evolution in Mexico, in Mexican legal system, protecting children and protecting specifically women. New laws, new rules, and yeah, you have to be obeyed on that legal Mexican system.
And it's great to know that you might have expert witnesses there, but when you are an expert witness, and I remember that from my own personal perspective, you need to know something about the American legal system as well. You appear in front of the judge, you're being cross-examined, and I wanted to ask you what this experience was for you.
It was fantastic, you know. It was a great opportunity to talk about Mexican law, to talk about Mexican system, and the other case was about restitution. You know, indeed, the questionnaire was about how Mexican system enforce the Hague Convention, how Mexican judges, you know, prevent children to be subtract or wrongful moved to another country, and obviously based on the experience that we have on these matters, it was just fantastic. It's an opportunity to show the world, in this case to the American court, that Mexican legal system is working and works very well.
And Carlos, do you have to know English as a Mexican lawyer when you're being an expert witness in the U.S., or do you just use an interpreter?
It was, you know, you don't need to speak English. It's better if you speak English. In both cases, they offer the interpreter because it was one of the parties was only a Spanish speaker. But I noticed that the experience that being a lawyer and bilingual, it's very good because sometimes the interpretation, it's not very proper and you gotta be very careful. In my cases, honestly, I decide just to do myself and I just ask for permission, you know, if I have any question regarding any word or how to explain, I will use the interpreter. So of course, it is up to you. You can speak English, and if you need the interpreter, feel free to use the interpreter. Thanks God, I have no necessity to use the interpreter, you know, because it was kind of easy, the language and the legal English that we were using in those cases.
Yes, and from my experience, I can say that it was very good for me that I could count upon support from a local attorney, which in this case was Mac, that he was introducing me to the system. I was his witness. I I was therefore informed what to do, how to be there. Of course, I owe my duty to the court, so the fact that I have met Mac for this very case didn't change anything in me testifying. I was sworn and I was telling everything completely to the truth, not to Mac or Mac's client benefit. However, for me and anybody out there wanting to be an expert witness, it's really good if you can count upon support from a local attorney who will tell you what to do, how to behave. Carlos, was it the same with you? Did you have a chance to really be introduced by someone to what's going to be there, how it's going to be happening?
Yeah, indeed. I have kind of training, and how to behave, how to answer, how to proper talk to the parties, not to interrupt anything, not to question in the questions. Yeah, it was very nice. I remember one of the cases that the interpreter was having a hard time, indeed twice. It was one moment that I had to stop and say, with all due respect to the interpreter, but that person is talking in Spanish and the interpretation is not the proper interpretation, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have to say that the meaning is different from what the interpretation is, the interpreter is providing the information to the court. So that's why it's very important, again, to me it's very important that I'm a Mexican lawyer, that I know the legal language in English and the legal language in Spanish. So because one word can change the whole meaning of the sentence. That's very important. So, and a few times I have to, again, with all due respect to the interpreter, but it's different being an interpreter and living in the state that live in Mexico, not the whole language, the slang, and the ways to say something. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, that's very interesting. Actually, I think we could do an entire episode just on courtroom translation and interpretation, because all three of us is bilingual and Natalia is multilingual. And exactly. so we've experienced this issue, right, where people don't necessarily say exactly what was meant or intended. So,
you're right.
So Carlos, what other insights can you give us as we start wrapping up our time here today about expert witnesses and what people should be aware of?
Well, basically, it's you gotta prepare yourself, because the party who is hiring you or asking you the favor to go and do the expert witness normally say, okay, I want you to prepare maybe a statistic, maybe cases that you handle on this topic. But pretty much you have to prepare yourself with enough information, with enough law on the Mexican legal system or the Hague Convention in our case, and be ready to answer the questionnaire from both parties. Yeah, basically you have to spend a lot of time preparing yourself to be in a specific court and a specific case. Again, each case is different, and talk about the facts relating with the Mexican legal system.
Carlos, it's been great having you. Please tell us in a few words how it is easier to get hold of you if anybody would want to have you as an expert witness on their case concerning Mexican law, or if they would want to use your services as a family lawyer in Mexico.
It's pretty easy. I think there is the email address, elabogadoalvarado@gmail.com, and my phone number, it's international code is 52, and then it's 477-677-7779. Pretty easy, all sevens.
Awesome. All right, everyone, thanks so much for tuning back in on Legal Talk with Natalia and Mac, and we are signing off. But be sure to continue following this channel on NowMedia Television, as well as the LMI podcast. And that website now is lmipodcast.com, where we continue talking about these topics off air. And we just wish you, all the best, and come back soon for the next episode.
It's been a pleasure. See you soon.
Thank you.
This has been a Now Media television feature presentation. All rights reserved.